And he said, "Stop effing with my son. That's my effing son. Stop effing with my son."
Stand on business.
I said, "What? Nah, man, straight up, man to man. Real talk. Stop effing with my son."
Stephen A. Smith reacts to his altercation with LeBron James. Check out what he had to say, and then I'll come back with my comments.
Now let's get to a subject that's apparently gone viral on social media today, and it also involves yours truly.
Here we go.
Last night I was in attendance at the Knicks-Lakers game, sitting courtside, where during a timeout, I believe it was in the third quarter,
Look at Bron.
I was confronted by none other than LeBron James himself. LeBron had some choice words for me in regards to comments I've made prior about him in regards to his son, Bronny James.
Leave Bronny alone.
Before I get any further, let me just put to bed a couple of things that have been reported that are false.
Let us know.
People was talking about LeBron called me out my name, or somebody else saw somebody said he called me somebody said he called me a punk and all this. None of that is true.
Bron crashed out on you.
He was fiery. He approached me during the game and he said, "Stop effing with my son. That's my effing son. Stop effing with my son."
Stand on business.
I said, "What? Nah, man, straight up, man to man. Real talk. Stop effing with my son."
I don't know what Bron said, but whatever he did say, Stephen A. Smith was shaken up today on ESPN First Take. Didn't really have that same energy. Took him a while to kind of loosen up. So even though he never really said anything crazy about Bronny, you are talking about someone's son, but I think LeBron James overreacted. He actually embarrassed Bronny. Got to allow Bronny to take the criticism. He's still shielded by Clutch Sports and LeBron. So you're going to have people like Stephen A. Smith. Yeah, they may call him out, but they're going to do it in a respectful way. Stephen A. Smith's energy has always been directed toward LeBron, just the way that he got Bronny in the league, manipulating the draft, all that stuff. That's when Stephen A. Smith really started talking about Bronny. He wasn't talking about Bronny in high school, wasn't talking about him in college. He only started talking about Bronny when the NBA draft started. Again, LeBron crashed out, and Stephen A. Smith is kind of shook.
And I saw how furious he was. And I said, "We can talk about it later." "Nah, F that. Stop effing with my son. That's my son. That's my son."
Leave him alone.
I said, "All right, dog. Fine." And he walked away. That's all he said.
All right.
I knew what he was talking about.
What was he talking about, bro?
I've spoken about this before. Matter of fact, I heard that not many, not all, but a few players were upset at me about that. I think one player in particular was Draymond Green, who I haven't spoken to since and has no desire to speak to me primarily because of this, I suppose.
Well, you already know Draymond Green, he will crash out for LeBron. So if it's OG LeBron beefing with you or anybody, he going to have beef directed toward you as well. So again, no surprises that Draymond Green wants nothing to do with Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith, he's losing a lot of friends within the media space. That's why you're seeing all these new faces on First Take. He's really building out his team. He got Gilbert Arenas on deck, Kai Cenat, Shannon Sharp. He's really building out a squad. So yeah, he may lose some people along the way, but he still got his money from ESPN, $100+ million.
And I found out the way that I found out, which was last night while I was at the game. I was a guest of Ari Emanuel, owner of William Morris Endeavor, founder of William Morris Endeavor, rather.
Sounds like a lot of money.
Founder of Endeavor, I'm sorry, before they merged with William Morris. And I was a guest of his, sitting at the game with him and Larry David from Curb Your Enthusiasm. I was sitting courtside, and the next thing you know, out of the blue, LeBron came in my face.
Bron went off on you. Still shook, bro.
Obviously, since he brought up his son, he was piggybacking off of what I had said weeks ago. And what I had said weeks ago is that when Bronny James was struggling, and I threw out some stats and stuff like that, and I said he's not ready. And then I came on this podcast and I reiterated that point. Clearly, it was something that was on LeBron James' mind.
You can tell LeBron James still got the power in media when he got people like Stephen A. Smith that are kind of shook right now, don't really want to say too much, walking on eggshells. LeBron, he still got the power, even though he's pretty much out the door of the NBA. If he says something, if he acts a certain way, it's going to slow up the media. They're going to have to talk about it. So if you're Stephen A. Smith, man, keep that same energy. If you feel a certain way about LeBron, speak on it. If you don't think Bronny James is an NBA-ready player, you can speak on that as well. Can't be scared of LeBron James.
That he was aching to confront me about. And so
He was
it happened
waiting on that.
the way that it happened. Now, before I get into anything else, let me say that LeBron's agent, who is Rich Paul, his boy, has my number. Maverick Carter, who's universally respected and is a big player in the industry these days, he has my number.
Interesting.
It's very easy for LeBron James to have called me. It's very easy for one of them to have called me and to say, LeBron wants to see you. He wants to talk to you face to face, man to man.
Yeah, that's the interesting part. That's why it's kind of surprising LeBron took that approach. Was this a publicity stunt? He knew that all the major players were in the building, the agency that Stephen A. Smith is with, the invite that he got. Maybe this was LeBron's perfect opportunity. Let me go ahead and make a little mini scene. I'm not going all the way crash out, but I'm going to talk my jump because, you spoke on my son. Again, was this a move by LeBron so the media can cover this? LeBron James is calculated in the media, so I wouldn't be surprised if this was a publicity stunt and he just did this to kind of put Stephen A. Smith out there. And again, you see how Stephen A. Smith energy was today. He wasn't really trying to have it. He was just chill, real mellow. Didn't really have the ego, didn't have that Stephen A. Smith energy. So whatever LeBron said to Stephen A. Smith, it got him feeling a certain way.
That's not what happened. Last night at the Lakers game happened. Now I get, and people have said to me today that I'm looking pretty damn sad. I'll fess up, I am. Because
LeBron got him shook.
Something like that is not something that should make any of us comfortable. I didn't anticipate it. I don't know why I didn't anticipate it. But I'm not here to blame LeBron James.
Blame somebody.
That wasn't a basketball player talking to me last night. That was a dad. He rolled up on me as a father. That's what he did.
I get it, but still, you're in the media. You got to cover athletes. If you feel a certain way, you got to cover it. So don't allow that to be the reason why LeBron would just crash out. This was all a media move by LeBron, and it worked. And Stephen A. Smith is shook. Everyone knew it. You can tell, and he finally had to admit to it.
That was not a basketball player talking to me. We talk about LeBron James all the time. Practically everybody does. That's not what LeBron James does. So for him to confront me, obviously it was something that he was incredibly passionate about, put off about, and felt necessary to confront me about. And what better motivation could there be than to be protective of his son? I understand it. I respect it as a parent. I'm a father of 2 daughters. And in all honesty, I couldn't definitively tell you that if I were LeBron James, I would not have done the same thing.
You wouldn't have done the same thing, but you really copping out for LeBron, and I get it. He got the power in the media. He can make moves behind the scenes. He can probably make it rough on you, but again, Stephen A. Smith, you got to keep that same energy. I know LeBron James, he may be the greatest ever, but the way that he came at you, it was wrong. And again, I know you want to keep your money. Don't blow the bag. Don't lose the money in your contract, but you got to stand up to LeBron James.
I would hope that I would not have. I would hope that I would have picked up the phone and called the person instead, or got arranged to see that person face to face instead, rather than walking up to me in the middle of a game, courtside. That was not the end of the game. That was not the beginning of the game. That was in the middle of the game that this happened.
Bad look by LeBron. Happened.
And there's really not much you can do about it. I have a lot to say about it, but I wanted to address a couple of things. Number one, because I saw this tweet from Kevin Love. He was responding to my tweet. My tweet was, I had no intentions of talking about it. And the reason I had no intentions of talking about it is because that's what men do. You handle it privately if you can. Well, I didn't want to address it. As I tweeted here, I wouldn't have either had it not gone viral. But it did go viral because when I got up, my social media person informed me that it was over 15 million views. And it had gone viral. It was number one. It was the number one sports story going. And regardless of everybody wanting to walk around acting like they don't have bosses, I don't deny the fact that I have bosses. I work for ESPN, and ESPN called me this morning. They said, "What you mean you ain't talking about it? You most certainly have to talk about it. This directly involves you."
We gave you all that money. You better talk about it. We need these headlines. We need to keep up this viewership going. Got to stay number one. So even though Stephen A. Smith may not want to talk about it, if them bosses come calling, I don't care. They gave you $300 million. You got to really speak on different topics, and you couldn't shy away from this. So again, I know Stephen A. Smith is shook right now. Don't want to go against LeBron James, but if them bosses come calling, you got to talk about it.
And LeBron James is the biggest story in the country right now in sports. There's no way for you to escape it. Talk about it. You got your platform. Do what you got to do.
We paid you all that money.
I said, fine. Well, when I tweeted out to let everybody know that I will be talking about it, Kevin Love, LeBron's former teammate in Cleveland, throws out this tweet. You have no choice, laugh out loud. Because it went viral, laugh out loud. You didn't want to have to, laugh out loud. You wouldn't have, laugh out loud. Hold that tweet up.
Then you gonna
Let's
get that same energy with
over
Kevin
the
Love.
list. And I like Kevin Love. I'm very fond of him. All right? I have nothing negative to say.
You don't? Let's see.
I have no choice because of what I just told you about my bosses, Kevin. Because it went viral, Kevin, which I just explained. I didn't want to. Why would I want to?
You didn't have to.
I take no pleasure in something like this. And I guess it's the implication that, and I wouldn't have, laugh out loud on all of those things. You see, stuff like that dilutes the seriousness of the discussion.
So you're going to keep that same energy with Kevin Love, but you're not going to stand on business with LeBron James that embarrassed you in front of the whole entire arena and 15 plus million people on the internet? Got to keep that same energy, Steven. I know Kevin Love, he's an easy target, but LeBron James, man, that's the bully that you have to go against. You got to defeat LeBron James.
So let me explain this to Kevin Love in simplest terms. First Take has been the #1 morning show for 13 consecutive years. And on this particular morning, it's the day after I was in the news for a lucrative contract extension. So if I said that I didn't have any intentions of doing it, I don't have to lie. And I'm not starving for ratings. And respectfully, Kevin, you should know that I mean what I say. I don't have to lie.
What do you mean?
So I'll just leave it at that. Outside of that, feel free to support your boy.
But again, earlier you said, you get to pretty much do what you do. You got the money, you got the contract, and you got the opportunity to do things outside of ESPN. So why couldn't you kind of deny talking about this topic? If it's going to be trending, let it be trending. You can talk about it on this platform. You didn't have to do it on ESPN, but again, no matter how much money they give you, you got to listen to your bosses by any means.
Let me go back to me and LeBron James. Ladies and gentlemen, any alluding to Bronny James in this is either accidental or just a reference point to articulate me and LeBron James, because I'm not here to talk about Bronny James.
Yeah, he ain't doing that no more.
Bronny James, by all accounts, is a wonderful kid who went into the G League, has been tearing it up, and I personally think is going to be an NBA player. You can't root against Bronny James. He's a great kid. I've never met anybody that said otherwise.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay? And I'm genuinely rooting for him. Having said that, at the time that I was talking about him and his stats in the aftermath of the Philly game, that's when things have gone haywire, because that's when you start hearing that a few players don't want to talk to you, or folks felt you crossed the line or whatever. Here's what they thought I did that crossed the line. By pointing out how he was struggling, I wasn't really talking about Bronny James that much. He's a rookie.
Again, Stephen A. Smith didn't say anything wrong about Bronny, but LeBron gonna be in his feelings, and this was a perfect opportunity to confront Stephen A. Smith, knowing that he got that contract and all eyes on Stephen A. Smith. Strategic by LeBron James.
And I think that he'll just get better and better and be in the NBA. It wasn't really about him. It was about LeBron. And the reason why it was about LeBron was because the heat that Bronny was taking and the stories that were going viral, I was making the point he didn't have to be in this predicament. 3 things could have happened. He could have got drafted by Golden State.
Yeah.
He could have got drafted by the Boston Celtics. Or he could have got drafted like he did by the Lakers. Opening night, have that moment with his dad, and then go to the G League and wreak havoc, wreck shop, and then come to the league after a year's experience in the G League.
Would have been the best case.
If any of those things did not happen, one surmised that it was because of LeBron James.
Clutch Sports.
In my mind, the second greatest player to have ever played the game of basketball, who was a basketball savant. And if we know that his son was struggling, then he knows.
Oh, of course.
And what I was saying was, I was focused on him. It was other people that was focused on Bronny James.
Again, Stephen A., you got to get out your feelings. Stand up to LeBron James. Don't allow him to change the media narratives. Don't allow him to crash out on you. Not saying to blow the bag and just lose everything, but you still got to defend yourself. So you can criticize Bronny without worrying about LeBron James going off on you in public. So we'll see what happens moving forward with Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James.